It's truly unique, and I, honest to God, have never heard it before.
I said I wasn't interested in continuing it.
And I was devastated.
We need to answer. There are a lot of big questions need to be answered.
Like, did you not feel pissed off, like, when you heard that?
But that was like 2 months.
It's mamish nisim. It's literally in our situation.
Sarah and Max, an unlikely pair in this wild podcast. They're the perfect flair. Sarah's charm, so feminine and free. A Cali girl spirit under the podcast tree. Max a strong force with a punch in every word. Together they navigate the dating absurd. Don't forget to hit subscribe, join the crew for more laughs and tales just for you. Now back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to another great edition of Good for Shidduchim. I'm your host, Max Landisman. Unfortunately, Sarah cannot make it for this one. This one we had to record at 8 o'clock at night, and by her it's 3 o'clock in the morning, so unfortunately she's not here. It's kind of like leaving the keys with your 12-year-old son, so hopefully we'll have a good time still. Anyways, before we get started, please remember to like and subscribe. We also have an Instagram, Good for Shidduchim, and our email is goodforshidduchim@gmail.com. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guests, Jason and Rivka. Welcome, guys.
Thank you so much for having us, Max. Real pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You even tucked in your shirt for this.
Yeah, I felt, the polo in corporate America, I feel like you kind of have to tuck it in. I didn't want to, but I did.
Right. For the record, he's wearing a Brooks Brothers polo that's tucked in. I believe all those...
And it's turquoise.
It's turquoise. I believe those Brooks Brothers, you bought him, right? Did you buy like a bunch of Brooks Brothers?
No. So I went... Rivka was working. I guess had nothing to do. So I went shopping. I guess that sounds like a girl thing to do, but I needed
shopping. Men have to shop too, right?
I needed polos, and I managed to snag 2 at a normal price.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid. I mean, men have to buy clothing also, right?
Yes, men need clothing too.
Men need clothing. Yeah. Awesome.
I don't know if we get like a a yontif budget like women tend to, but that's. But okay, we'll leave that in the women's court. It's okay.
Okay. All right. So the reason why I wanted to have them on is because they have an amazing story, and when I say amazing, it's truly unique, and I, honest to God, have never heard it before until you guys. The story goes as just they actually went out 3 separate times over the course of 4 years, and without skipping a beat, somehow it worked. So it's really like a great story of like whoever's out there, someone's out there for you, no matter what happens. Could be you went out, didn't work out, whatever. It somehow kind of works its way out. So I want to get to the nitty gritty of the story, and I really want to get going on this. So where do we start? Rivka or Jason? Who wants to start off?
I think I'll start just because I was the first one contacted in regard. Initial contact was made with Jason, not by Rivka. So it was about May, June 2018, well before COVID, Baruch Hashem. And I got an email from a shadchan in Toronto.
Email.
Yeah, email, not WhatsApp, not text, email.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, I've got your resume, profile."
From where? From where?
I was thinking that was on the way over here. I think when it comes to shidduchim, it's kind of like the Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
You can get anyone's information
it's like open source.
About anything. Yeah, you can literally get anyone's info from anybody. Someone you've never heard of in a different state, country, wherever, somehow has your resume.
Yeah.
How that works, I don't know.
Right.
And how is that okay? I don't know. But because you get random people calling you and texting you. But sometimes it's good. Like this was pretty good. I had no idea who this person was.
Right.
So she said, "I got your info. I have this great girl for you. She's really great. I know her really well." She sent me her info. It had a bio. I think pretty sure you had a picture.
Yes.
Yeah, it had a picture. I know, that's a whole debate. Picture, no picture.
So for you, obviously, picture, right?
It definitely helped.
Yeah. If there was no picture, would you have said yes?
I would have Googled her. That's literally what I would have done. I mean, every guy out there does that. So
listen, we're guys. That's just the way it is.
That's just the way it is. I mean,
it's not our fault.
If you don't have any form of anything on like social media, people will, LinkedIn pictures, you could use that too if you just make sure your LinkedIn picture is good.
Okay.
So, just be aware, guys, Google people. It's just what we do.
True.
So she sent me your information. I called a friend or somebody, I don't remember who. And I'm like, oh, this sounds really on target, really good idea. Okay, so like let's set something up. Obviously, I was living in New York. I'm from Muncie.
Right.
And Rivka is from Toronto. So, we decided...
Kind of a problem.
Yeah, distance is a little bit much, and I think we both pretty much came to the assumption and conclusion that no one's traveling anywhere until it gets a little bit more serious.
Sure.
So we started out Zooming, but it wasn't even Zoom.
Right,
because
before Zoom
didn't
existed,
exist.
right?
Zoom itself did not exist.
Yeah.
So me being me, I was like, well, how do I Skype/Zoom for free? Because I'm not paying for actual
Naturally.
Skype. And
If anyone can't tell he's an accountant, he's an accountant. If you can't tell by now.
I don't know. For some reason, as accountants who I guess I sort of worked remotely then. I don't know if we really did. 2018? Probably not. I don't know. But I did not have Skype. I wasn't paying $50 to have a date on top of whatever else it would cost me down the line. So I was like, no.
Love it.
So I realized actually that Google had this app called Google Hangouts, where you basically just could video call people through Gmail. You basically call their email.
Yep.
And you can just video with them. So we Skype/Zoom. I'm just gonna use that, those verbiage, kind of back and forth, whatever, for simplicity's sake. And we Zoomed 4 or 5 times, and they all went really well. They were all long.
What's long? Like what? You're on a call for how long?
I think Shotgun told us, don't go more than 2 or 3 hours.
She said 2 hours max.
2 hours max.
I think it went for 4.
And it went for at least 3. For sure it went for 3.
I think it was more than that.
I get
Rivka,
it.
were you enjoying yourself?
I was barely enjoying myself.
Really?
It was very good.
It was
very good.
It felt so natural. I mean, a lot of people tell me that, and I've heard from friends that Zoom/whatever Skype calls can really be hard for a lot of people. If you don't have the right chemistry and the right connection and the right things to talk about, it can be really hard to keep the conversation going for that long.
Yeah.
Not just personalities and connection, your actual connection can be a real problem. If you have bad internet, it's going to go in and out, and it will be a very bad date.
We had that a few times.
We had that at some point later on in our dating. I think I just, maybe it was during COVID. That just the internet
everybody was
great.
home
Everyone
and everybody was using the
whatever.
internet.
But we'll get to that at a later point in the
But definitely
in the podcast.
it went. I remember when the shotgun told me try to limit it. I was thinking why would you want to limit it? I didn't even understand why. But I said okay, I'll keep it in the back of my head. But I remember just having such a good time that the time just flew by and we didn't even realize what time it was when it was.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I'm did it feel like at 2 hours were you should I stop this
no,
or not?
Not
you
at
didn't
all.
even notice.
We just kept going.
We just kept going. We had so much to talk
only
about.
afterwards you're like, wow, I'm really tired. When you talk and
it's
you're
draining.
engaged and you have to really be awake, and present, it's exhausting. I mean, it was great, but it was exhausting. And afterwards, I was I just kind of crashed. I was whoa, I'm really tired. So we Zoomed, 4 or 5 times, and then we decided. I don't know if we decided or
I basically said, I guess
Rivka
I have to come in now.
Suggested that she'd come in to New York.
Of course, she comes in and you don't go to her. So what played into that, and how did you get around that?
Well, let's just say that over my dating career, I have been into New York many, countless. I can't even keep track anymore how many times I came in for guys.
Really?
It was almost like living in an out-of-town community like Toronto. I'm sure people can relate to this a lot if you live out of town.
Right.
It's almost expected of the girl to fly into New York for a date or to wherever the guy is, because I feel bad for saying this, but there's a lot of options potentially in the tri-state area, and a lot of guys would not necessarily be interested in someone from out of town if they have other options that are local.
Right. Okay. Right.
Although,
what do we learn from here? That living in Canada is never good.
Yeah.
Even before COVID. Even before
insanity.
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit different, for more, I guess, out of town, but at least in the States. I mean, I would say, LA is, yes, that's far, but I'm thinking if you're in Philly, Silver Spring, Baltimore, it's not insane. It's really not crazy to start, meet halfway, or, I've gone to Baltimore for a weekend or a Shabbos and gone out with different people, just from the Shabbos, and people do it, or they, like I said, people meet halfway. Philly is not so far.
Meet halfway at a gas station? How does it?
No, I actually met someone at a park in Philly. I didn't know where
random.
I was.
But it's halfway.
She coordinated it, so I didn't.
She
really,
coordinated it.
Yeah.
By the way, you were going against every apparent dating rule or what they expect guys to do.
She was living in Philly, so I don't know Philly.
You get away with murder. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, but then the times that I don't, it kind of evens itself out. There's plenty of times where I did all the work and then it was a total flop. So we can get.
Tell
to
me
that
about it.
Yeah,
Tell me about it.
That should.
But the point is that I kind of assumed it was, I would have to come in, and I was willing to do it. I was happy to do it because really until that point I was pretty much doing, exactly what we did. I would Zoom, Skype a guy, a few times, see if it made sense to, invest the time and money to come in. And then I would make the trip because I knew I had to. And I knew that it was almost like if I didn't, then I wouldn't have a chance of meeting somebody.
Boy.
So it's hard, but, that's what my friends and I did. And, thank God it worked out for me. But for a lot of people, they're still doing the back and forth, and it's really not easy.
It sounds miserable, honestly. Like, that's just the way it sounds.
Yeah, those flights from Toronto, if you're a Toronto person, Pearson is a disaster. And
even though it's a short flight,
it can be a pain in the neck.
It's
Your whole flight's an hour, but it takes you 6 hours to get here. So
you think flying to New York, leaving Canada, you're smiling, but when you're flying back, you're not smiling and you're back to pissed off.
Rivka made fun of me. I think the first time we drove from Canada to here, we drove there for like a week, and then we driving back that I was like saluted the United States flag when we crossed the border. I sang the national anthem.
Nice.
It was
more shtick than anything real,
Yeah.
but it is a different country. People think it's not, but as an American going there, I'm telling you, it's a different country.
It's very different.
It's very different culturally.
It's not
there's
that
of
different.
It's not that different, but it's definitely different.
Is Victoria, British Columbia very different? Because I was there and it was like night and day.
It's beautiful there.
It's beautiful. People are really friendly. I just feel they're a year behind America.
I feel like Canada,
2000s got there very late.
Canada in general is behind America in a lot of things.
Because I remember as a kid, we wanted to go see a movie. Spider-Man 2 was out, but Spider-Man 3 was already out in America.
Well, listen, we got the COVID vaccine like a year after you guys. So
Yeah.
we're behind.
I don't know why it takes so long to do whatever. Anyways.
Import taxes,
So anyways,
the border, stuff like that.
So anyway, you flew in.
I flew in.
Rivka flew in
on a Sunday. Let's just 1 second. I flew in on a Sunday. At that point, I was in my last year of pharmacy school, so I was on clinical rotations. I was working, Monday to Friday every day of the week. And I really only had weekends off. I didn't have days that I could take off besides for like Yontiv. So I chose a Sunday. I woke up really early. Drove to the airport.
Like 4 o'clock in the morning type thing?
Yeah. I got on a plane at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, landed in New York at 8 o'clock, whatever, 9 o'clock.
I think I picked you up at like 10.
Okay, you picked me up at 10. And I had a flight out scheduled for, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 o'clock at night.
Wow.
So
I think it was like 6.
it was like a day.
Yeah.
It was just a day to come in and meet Jason.
Yeah.
Exhausting, right?
Yes. Very exhausting.
I picked her up at LaGuardia.
Was Jason waiting for you in his tucked-in polo, or?
He was waiting for
definitely
me
not
in a
wearing a
tucked-in
polo.
button-down shirt.
Button-down shirt.
Which one? I don't remember.
Loafers.
Nice.
Black pants, probably a blue button-down shirt. That's like my
That's
kind
what
of
he
my
had.
Classic Jewish
uniform.
look. Classic Jewish look.
He was waiting in his
Blue
car in
button-down
front of
shirt,
LaGuardia Airport.
loafers and black pants. That's basically how it is.
Yeah.
I don't think I had cool socks back then.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
I don't
don't
think it was
remember
a thing. Either way, so I pick her up. We drive to Manhattan. We got lunch. We went to Bryant Park. We did some fun, free, ping pong activities.
Underline free.
Yeah, I mean, it's the city and it's free, so there's not so many of those. So
how much did I spend to come in for the day?
Exactly.
In his defense,
Gas tolls from
exactly.
Muncie.
Just crossing.
Muncie, yeah.
There's no
crossing.
tolls.
There are
Yes,
tolls,
there
right?
is. Tappan Zee Bridge.
To get into the city, you gotta pay.
Then you have to pay
you're
the
right.
Whitestone.
Every time you look at the city, they charge you for something.
You're right.
Yeah, basically. So it was kind of nice, but I definitely spent a lot of money on parking.
Yes.
I think it was like $50 to park the car for.
Oh, you actually parked the car at a real...
Yeah. I didn't want to mess around. I used Spot Hero to find a spot near. Shout out Spot Hero if you want to sponsor the next episode.
He was very organized. He had a spot booked already.
I booked a spot in a garage off
the day before.
It might have been a couple days before.
Wow, look at that.
I don't remember that. I definitely don't remember.
That's
I tried parking. I remember I parked on 46th or 47th and 5th because we were planning on going to Milk and Honey is on 46th and 47th. I know it moved for a block, but somewhere around there. So we got lunch there. We went to Bryant Park. We hung out there for a while, and it was kind of it wasn't so late, but it wasn't so early either. But okay, so what do you do? Because you're kind of
something like that, 2 o'clock.
Maybe 2 or 3 o'clock, and we were I was going to drive her back to the airport starting at 4, so probably an hour or hour and a half of
So it sounds like the date is going phenomenal.
The date was going well.
It was
very hot.
It was a day in like June. It was about 95 degrees in the city.
No, not 95. It was very sunny
extremely
and very
sunny
shade,
and hot.
And it was just hot. It was like a Manhattan day, sunny day. It was just
in the summer.
In the summer, it was just hot.
So Jason's genius idea to kill time was let's walk to Central Park.
Which is apparently not close.
And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I don't know where that is, but sure, let's walk.
Okay, backtrack a little bit. I wanted to go walk to Central Park because I thought it'd be nice to walk up Fifth Avenue with all the fancy nice stores, window shop,
which is free.
Right.
It's a nice block.
It is a nice block.
I work near Fifth Avenue. People there don't know how to walk because they're just staring into windows.
Right.
It's a nice area.
Trust me, I'm trying to go to the train and people just
I can still see that.
It's very annoying.
Yeah.
For the city folk who are trying to just get by.
Right.
But the people coming in from all over the world who want to stare at buildings with stuff in them.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Tourists.
So I thought that would be okay, maybe we'll just wind up spazzing in front of a window. Maybe we'll just go inside for fun, and we won't make it to Central Park.
I thought the point was to get to the park, so we
a
ended
little
up.
bit, but then
how far is this walk? How?
Well, Bryant Park is 42nd and 5th, and the park is 59th. So
12
that's a
blocks.
nice.
So
in the heat.
in minutes wise.
20-minute walk.
At least half an hour.
Probably 20 minutes, half an hour.
Mind you, it was
You're
boiling
walking
hot.
Slowly and whatever.
There were tons of people. I remember there were a lot of people on the sidewalk. It's a Sunday in the summer.
City,
there were a lot of tourists.
People.
It was crowded. I was sweating buckets.
As an onlooker, they could probably tell you guys are on a date because everyone's in shorts and a t-shirt, and Jason's in a button down. You're in a dress, probably. I'm assuming.
I don't know if guys think we're on dates. I think you're just obviously from.
Right.
It's just obvious. I mean, you can spot from people from a mile away. Whether they're the Yankee hat and black pants are not exactly. You're not hiding you're from. I'm sorry, all the people do it. We do it anyway, but it's funny.
You can't take the Jewy out of the Jew.
Yeah, no.
So we walk and we walk and we walk and we walk and we walk, and eventually we get to Central Park. And once we're in Central Park, we walk through half the park.
Not half the park.
Almost half the park. It felt like we were just, walking for a very, very long time.
Walking aimlessly?
Until finally we look at our watches and we go, oh, it's almost time to go. Let's turn around and walk all the way back to the car.
Oh, man.
All the way back to the car.
So this is going great.
Jason mistake number one. Yeah.
Were you thinking the whole time, I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning for this?
I don't think I was tired. I think I was on a high, but also I didn't wear sneakers. I didn't wear good shoes to walk a marathon in the city. I was wearing my flats. I don't know. I wasn't
At least it wasn't high heels or anything.
I was carrying a knapsack on my back with my passport, my wallet, some water, schlepping this thing around the city, it's soaking wet. You could just picture it.
I was young and stupid. Forgive me.
So we got back to the airport, and then the part that Jason doesn't really necessarily always remember is that, number one, I didn't exactly I don't think I brought dinner with me because I assumed I'd be home for dinner.
Yeah, we should have gotten you something for the road.
I brought snacks to tide me over, and then also once I got to the airport, I found out that my 7 o'clock or whatever 8 o'clock flight was delayed. So I ended up sitting in the airport till 10 o'clock at night. I didn't get home till close to midnight.
Wow.
It was exhausting. I felt like I had a heat stroke, heat exhaustion. I was just completely dehydrated. It was exhausting. I was drained.
To say the least.
Wow.
I was drained. So
that was our first date, official date, and I think partially the date for the beginning was good, but then the second half was kind of I was very.
Also compared to
it was completely my fault, but the next day when I was thinking okay, I have to have a day or two to get back to shotgun, I was I don't know, it didn't live up to expectations, so I was kind of okay, I'll just pass and just not really interested in continuing.
Yeah.
So I emailed the shotgun and I told her hey, it was kind of just okay. It wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
And she's yeah, really? I'm you sure you don't want to continue? I said, yeah. I don't know.
Also, he would have to invest on a long distance relationship at that point.
And at that point, I was very much in New York and she's still very stuck in Toronto. So I don't know if that really hit me. But
no, I don't think we really discussed that so much.
I don't think we really discussed the long distance part of it because I guess we figured it was going well with Zoom. Who cares? We'll figure it out.
Yep.
But I was okay, yeah,
So yeah,
so I said I wasn't interested in continuing, and
I was devastated. I was devastated. I didn't see it coming. I think part of the problem was that the Zoom calls, maybe the shotgun was right in the sense that like we were talking for so long and we were like almost building up this hype of it being so good.
Okay.
And it really like the 4 that we had were like amazing. Like I've never had such good Zoom calls with anybody before. And it almost seemed like maybe, you know, it didn't necessarily live up to the expectations that we had, or maybe the fact that, you know, the date was really long and maybe it, like, you know, if it would have been like a 2-hour date, 3-hour date, and it would have ended before the park, you know, like, and all the walking, I think that may have changed things. But obviously I wasn't going to fly in for 2 hours. Like if you were coming in, you spend the day. Like it's not.
Well, I think, I mean, I'm going to ask the question that it's also, I feel like, a lot of pressure that you're here for one day. You made a sacrifice to get here, and you almost have to crowd in all this stuff into one day.
Very much
on a Zoom day, you don't feel like you have to do everything. It's because you want to do it.
Very much so. So I think what Rivka is really alluding to also, that we built it up so much that if anything wasn't perfect, it wasn't going to live up to our whatever messed up expectations we were having, because we were expecting, okay, it was going to be just as good as a Zoom, and then you have one thing that's like not perfect, and it like kind of derails the whole thing.
It's almost like we were going up on a high, and then we just came crashing down. It was almost like too much, too fast.
Right. Like looking back at it, like what else would you have done? Because
walked from Bryant Park to Central Park.
But what else could we have done? There was like, you know, it's the city, it's the summer.
Only, unless you would fly in for a Shabbos or something, I don't see any way you can come for more than one day.
Correct.
Right?
And at that point, I couldn't, because I was working on Fridays till like.
You're working on Fridays too.
5.
Right.
And Shabbos was obviously it was late, but I couldn't fly in on a Friday.
You couldn't even do that. Yeah.
I mean,
that
we
was
could
the
have
problem.
done something. I mean, like if you flew into Queens, if I went to, you know, we did something in Queens, that would have been less intense. Or I mean, I guess I can't think of. I lived in Queens for a year. I still can't think of some stuff to do for an entire day in Queens. But I guess I could have tried.
But anyways, in hindsight, it like you'll see from the rest of the story that it clearly just wasn't
the right time.
Yeah. Wasn't the right time. There was a lot more that had to fall into place for both of us. So anyways, moving, I guess, along with the story. So I was sad, as I said. I was upset, but I moved on.
How long did it take, though, to move on?
The first time, I think I was upset, but I think also we only met once in person. So it was like, this guy's great, and like I really liked a lot of things about him, and it's almost like I kind of wrote down things that I really liked about him that I wanted to look for in other people.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I did that a lot after dates. I would, try to think about like, oh, this quality, if it didn't work out, like, but this quality was something I appreciated, or this quality was something I didn't appreciate. So there were definitely things I saw in him that I never saw in somebody else, that I was like, wow, like I didn't know like there could be someone out there that has this and this quality. So do you remember
what quality that was?
I'm
just really curious.
I definitely do. I don't know if Jason wants me to say.
Oh boy, is it too private?
No. I think
up to you.
For me, I really like the fact that Jason was very passionate about life, about his avodas Hashem, about his learning. I just like, I felt that it's also his personality he has an excitable personality, but I think it also extended to his Torah and his avodas Hashem, and it showed. And I said, wow, like, I want to find someone who has that excitement for life that I haven't always seen in people that I
Jason
dated.
Definitely has that for sure.
So that was a big thing for me.
Among
other things,
which we won't go into now.
But anyway, so I finished pharmacy school. Shortly after that, I graduated. I started working.
Did your schedule get any better?
I don't think
yes and no. It got busy in a different way. It got busy in a different way because I was just working weird hours.
Okay.
I worked like an evening shift a few times a week at a pharmacy, so that like was hard for dating because I was like out at night at work, and I was home during the day when people are not around. So it was a little bit weird, but I'm trying to remember how it started. I joined a WhatsApp group where a shadchan would post resumes.
A meat market.
Of not even resumes. Sorry, I take that back. Not resumes. She posted like descriptions of guys. It wasn't resumes.
Oh, really?
Descriptions of guys.
She would take a guy's resume and basically post. I think
that's
most times she would speak to them. She knew who the guys were.
Interesting.
She had 2 chats going that had like 500. She maxed out on WhatsApp. Yeah. I think the max you could have is like 500 people, or 250 or something like that, and she maxed out. Yeah. On the amount of people, like I don't know anyone who. I mean, I'm in a lot of really dumb teenage WhatsApp groups.
The only
but
person
they don't have 250 people.
The only other person I know that maxed out is another shotgun.
Well, that's what they do. They have a lot of people in their group. But
so
what happened was, did she reach out to you to put you in the chat, like to post about you?
I mean, this shotgun who Rivka's making reference to is someone I had been who had been helping me in Shidduchim for quite some time. She knew me pretty well, and she had either just started the chat or it was already kind of up in full swing. And, you know, I had a dating lull in the span of time that Rivka and I first dated. Nothing really materialized that was so amazing. And she said, well, let me, you know, send me a description of yourself. You know, basically take your resume and just put it into, like,
a description.
Better description, and I'll post it in the chat and see what happens.
This was in, by the way, just to give some reference, this was in around January, February of 2020.
Okay.
So it's already like a year and a half to 2 years, almost 2 years later.
Right.
So I was in this chat and I saw this posting of this, you know, and there were no names mentioned.
There's no names.
No names, no
this
pictures.
Is incredible.
No, it's it's literally just like date of birth, like year, how old they are, and
what the guy wrote.
And what they wrote, basically. That's it. You don't really get any more information. And I'm trying to remember if I even realized that it was Jason's description or not. It could be that I actually put 2 and 2 together and I figured, I mean, a lot of times she would post descriptions and it would ring a bell and I'd be like, I think I know who that is, but you try to figure out who it was. But anyways, the way the chat works is that if you are interested in one of the descriptions for yourself, or if you think it's good for somebody else that you know, you send the shadchan that person's resume, and you know, if she thinks it's a good fit or whatever it is, she'll pass it along to the guy. So out of nowhere, I think his thing was posted. Jason's description was posted at some point around that time, but I don't remember if I sent my resume in or not. It could be that I didn't. I don't even remember. But out of nowhere, I got a message from this shadchan, from this group, saying, I actually have a guy who is interested in going out with you. And I think you actually went out with him in the past. And I said, really? Like, who? And she said, Jason. And I said, oh my gosh, really? Like, wow. She said, yeah, like a lot of your friends and people that sent in your resume for him.
Really?
For that description that I posted. And I didn't like even tell people, oh, send my resume to the shadchan.
Yeah.
Like, so really, like, before I even get to this part, I think we missed a little bit, was that I had tried to get back together with Jason a little bit after
Separately.
It didn't work out.
A little bit before this posting, I don't know, it went viral, so to speak.
I did try. I had a few friends who knew Jason, or like their brother
sisters
people
or
knew.
brothers knew me from.
So I had
wherever.
I had tried a few times to see if he would reconsider, because you know, I thought maybe like I really saw there was something there between us.
Without me knowing that it was her, I just assumed a bunch of people were messaging me all around the same time. Oh, I think you should go out with Rivka again. I'm like, where's it coming from?
Yeah.
And then not so long after that,
this posting went out.
Posting, my thing got posted, and then the shadchan reached out to me saying, so many people are suggesting, would you go out with Rivka again? I've heard a lot about her. I know you well. You should totally go out with her again. Yeah. So after some convincing, I said yes, and then that's when she reached out to Rivka saying, hey, I have this guy for you. I think they dated him before. And
I couldn't believe it. I was like, I've been trying this, like I've been wanting this for so long, and finally, like out of nowhere, the shadchan says she got a yes, and I'm like, of course I'm interested. Like I was upset the first time. So.
Sorry to cut you off, but I just want to pause for 1 second. We had an episode dedicated specifically about, can girls go up to guys at a barbecue or at an event? There are a lot of girls who feel uncomfortable even going up to a guy at an event. The fact that you actually went out of your way, maybe not directly, you asked friends, whatever, but you went after what you wanted, and look what happened. I just wanted to take a moment to say, like, if you want something, go get it. Don't just sit there and just whatever.
I will say, though, it is a little bit different in person.
I think so, too.
Versus a WhatsApp message. That's a little bit different.
I think indirect hints is a lot easier because they don't necessarily know it's coming from you. But having the guts to go up to the person directly.
I had no idea that any of these people were connected to Rivka behind the scenes trying to like do anything.
Yeah, Jason got played.
Yeah, I totally got played. I only put it together like a year ago. I think maybe Rivka told me, like, wait, what? All those people were like you? Like, I didn't know that. Like, I just thought it was like hashkafa random.
But wait, some of them weren't. Like, there were a few people who mentioned that weren't.
Some of them weren't. There was like, I think around almost 5 different people texting me about it.
This is all your
No, I think 2 or 3 were mine.
3 were Rivka's, and the other ones were independent
consultants.
Yeah, not
But
not
the fact
solicited.
that so many people, like, it's almost like if so many people give you the same idea, how could you not say yes? Like, it's almost like,
Third's a chazaka. You already had 5th. So what does that say? Yeah.
So I said yes right away, but then the shadchan basically said, like, I heard what happened last time, Jason told me, and, I think for the sake of this time around, maybe it would be best if we start off with you, with you guys meeting in person and not doing the whole video call thing. She said, I just think maybe that would set the stage a little bit differently this time.
Right.
So at the time, I am living in Washington Heights.
Right. Another wonderful place.
A wonderful place.
And I was still in Toronto.
Living in Toronto. Done with school, but working.
And it was also around busy season for you.
It was very much busy season for me.
Nice.
I remember it being February 3rd because my friend's Ufruf was that Shabbos. I don't want to go into the whole details of how that affected our first date in person.
It didn't really affect our first date in person.
I mean, it was freezing.
It was stressful for you.
It was freezing, and I was in Highland Park for Shabbos, and I had to find a way to get back.
But I basically flew in.
By some miracle, I got a ride.
Okay.
And we went to Starbucks.
So I flew in. I said I would fly in but this time I flew in for a weekend. So I came for a Shabbos.
So she
Sunday.
flew in for Shabbos, but I wasn't even going to be there, so we couldn't. We couldn't even spend time. Like,
oh my gosh.
We wanted to go for a walk. I mean, it was the winter, so like Shabbos was early. We could have.
No, we said we'll have a date
somewhere
Motzei
together
Shabbos
on a Friday night, but I wasn't there at a friend's offer.
No, we wouldn't have eaten together Friday night on a first date.
I don't know.
No.
Who says? I don't know.
The night is young.
Yeah.
You know.
Whatever. We went out Motzei Shabbos.
Either way.
Okay.
So we went out Motzei Shabbos.
Sure.
I got the ride back. We Ubered
went to
the Upper West
Starbucks.
Side to some Starbucks. My phone was dead. I asked some random guy for a charger. He didn't kill me, so that was good. And we just I think we were there for like 2 hours.
But also that was the only Starbucks that was open at that
I
late
had
on
to
a
find
Motzei Shabbos.
an open normal Starbucks that had sometimes you're checking out places on Google Maps and you're hoping that the pictures show if they're seating. Yep. And sometimes the pictures they're showing are not of the actual store you're going to, so just beware of that, guys. It's not so simple.
Yep.
But we kind of
them. Sometimes I've called Starbucks. I don't know if I called this one, but I have called them.
But you've been to that one before, so you knew that it was a good one.
I knew, because I actually had been to that one before, so I knew there was some tables on some at the side.
You brought dates there before, you're saying?
One.
Oh, fine.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Gotcha.
You have your go-to
first
places,
date.
obviously.
Yeah.
One of my go-to places closed a year into my dating history, so it didn't really help. Coffee Bean, all of a shalom.
Oh, that's right.
That was the go-to place. It was so good.
So, anyways, you guys went out to Starbucks Saturday
we went out to
night.
And we
Starbucks
kind of
Saturday night, and we just kind of picked up
where we left off.
It wasn't
Really?
weird. It
And
wasn't
went
awkward.
really well.
It was almost refreshing because I felt like Jason didn't forget things about me. It wasn't like I had to remind him about who I was. He remembered my siblings, my family, my profession. He was kind of in the know, and he was kind of just oh, so let's just catch me up on what's happened in the last 2 years. It was almost like we were just catching up as friends.
Did she ever come up over the course of that year and a half where you guys, after you first went out, did it come up oh wow, that was kind of good, or you ever think about it?
I don't think so. I don't want to no offense to Rivka, but I feel like it didn't. I don't remember it specifically happening. I mean, yet again, when we first went out in 2018, I was 24, 25.
Well,
so I was probably 24. Yeah. And I was young and stupid, I'll be honest. I probably didn't really think that through all the way.
okay.
But I figured, okay, I'll just find the next person and whatever.
And yet you remembered everything, apparently.
That was very impressive.
And this, advice to guys, listen. Try and be present, and it makes a difference. So
yeah, but
especially if you like the person already.
But you would think that if you break up with someone or it doesn't work out, you forget about them and you move on. You wouldn't think that you would remember the details of every girl you ever went out with.
We had Zooms for 3 hours, Rivka. I think that was quite some time to be invested. It wasn't like we went on one dumb date for coffee.
That's true. We did.
Okay.
We had 30 plus hours.
Back then, we were just talking. Every Zoom date was just talking.
So those Zooms came through, actually.
Yeah,
it was a lot of talking.
Valuable.
Yeah, we went out a few times while I was in, and then we said
Sunday. We went out Monday night. You flew out Tuesday morning, I think.
I don't remember.
I think it was a holiday weekend.
It might have been a holiday weekend. But then we, the shadchan was saying, obviously, it's still a long distance relationship. So in between us meeting each other in person, we still had a few Zoom calls or whatever, Skype, in between. But the plan was that every few weeks we would have an in-person date again. So we did Zoom a few times.
We Zoomed probably for another couple weeks.
And then we were trying to figure out
a Sunday, and then one day during the week. It was usually Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
And
then I came back a second time.
You came back
a second time.
Well,
because
it's the third
Jason,
time, technically.
I'm not really sure how we came to that.
No,
Jason,
you were in busy season.
Oh, right.
And
I
you
was
couldn't
busy.
travel.
Right.
Literally gets away with murder.
Yeah,
Literally
it was
gets
the
away
third
with
time I
murder.
was coming in for him, but I clearly liked him, and I was willing to do it.
Jason, player. Look at that.
You had a place to stay, which was good.
I had a lot of friends in the Heights, so it was
That's
helpful.
good.
so I didn't have to worry about that.
So we did the whole weekend thing again a second time, and that was good. And like everything was just progressing
really
at like
good.
a nice pace. It wasn't
Yeah.
like the first time around. It was much
Sure.
better. And the goal was that hopefully, we would do a few more Zoom calls, and then Jason would take his turn to come to Toronto. And
Right, so I think at that point it was like end of March. I think Pesach was like April-ish.
It was beginning of March because that Shabbos that I came to the Heights the second time was the week that there was the first COVID case in YU.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I came home to find out all over the news that there was this outbreak of this disease that no one knew about in New York, and I was
Right.
just there, so I was, panicking a little bit.
Right.
But I said, okay, you know what? Like we figured it would, it was nothing, and it wouldn't affect our dating in any way.
No one thought it'd be 2 years, 3 years later. Until
next thing
the
you
world got
know,
back to normal, sort of.
We started Zooming again, and we were planning for Jason to come in, and next thing you know, the world exploded and the border shut down, and
Jason didn't have to buy a plane
and Jason
ticket.
never made it to Toronto.
I started looking for plane tickets.
Oh my gosh.
I started looking
It's
for
terrible,
after
but it's still
Pesach.
fun.
Like a week after Pesach, I was planning on going, and then at a certain point, I was like, "This is just not ending." Like everything just got from bad to worse.
Right.
Like everything
There was no
shut
end in
down.
sight.
No one was going anywhere. I mean, like New York and New Jersey were tracking like your license plate if you went to a state that had a high rate of COVID. I mean, it was insane.
And it's not like you can go to Canada anyways. You can't get
No,
in.
the border is closed.
Yeah.
He
Or I
couldn't
could go
physically
there and
get
I wouldn't
in.
be able to come back.
Even the cartels couldn't get through.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, someone would be stuck at the border somewhere, which is pretty bad. Or stuck in a country they don't want to be in. So
we ended up Zooming. At that point, Zoom became a popular thing, so we ended up switching over to Zoom. But we ended up Zooming for like almost 2 months.
Wow.
twice a week.
Yeah.
A lot of Sundays. Sundays were like, and I'm sure I never recommend this to people. They were like easily 5 or 6 hours.
So my question is, Zoom, I know the free version is maxed out at 45
We would keep
minutes.
logging
I
I
believe.
back
mean, we would
in.
just keep
Oh,
logging
you would just
back
keep
in.
doing it?
But multiple times
Okay,
a
all right.
session.
So you literally go
No,
for
we
5
also
hours.
at a certain point, I think, because everyone's internet was like off the chart whack because
It didn't kick you out.
everyone was using internet, so we switched to WhatsApp for a little bit. We did use WhatsApp video. Like on our phones instead of computers.
Yeah.
You
You got me that Jason, when we went to Dave & Buster's on one of our dates in person.
Bravo and David Buster's.
We
great
got
date.
the prize that
Oh,
I
Bravo's
got.
so good.
So you
The
go
prize-
from Bravo in Midtown to, just for guys helping you here,
Yeah.
Bravo in Midtown to Dave & Buster's near like Times Square is not such a far walk.
So the prize that I got was one of these little like phone stand things.
Oh,
Like
nice.
a tripod.
Like a
thing.
tripod for my phone, and I used it to FaceTime Jason.
Nice.
So it
When
was
you have
great.
500 tickets to like Dave
Yeah.
& Buster's and the cheapest normal prize is like 10,000,
Yeah.
like you get like a little
Candy.
and
Yeah.
you get this thing. So I'm glad it actually worked.
You actually
Actually,
got
it
a
was
real
actually
product.
useful.
You got
Yeah.
a real
It was
product.
actually
That's
useful.
something. Yeah.
Nice.
So then, basically, I guess what happened was there was no real,
No real end in
End in
sight to this
sight.
COVID insanity.
and
So,
Wow.
at that point, I decided that I think we had to
our
end things.
separate
You guys are just zoomed out.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a lot. It was a lot of Zoom.
We had to try to find ways to make it fun. Like I planned activities. We like did show
we
and
had
tell.
show and tell. I remember
We
that.
did like
I had
like
such boring
games.
stuff. Rivka had great stuff.
So this is an Excel.
No, I had like, these are like my svarim. I'm
she
not
like you were
joking.
very targeted
I
guy? No,
promise you this is what I did. I'm not joking. And I'm like, because I didn't look up. Like, she said the first time, oh, he's excited about his learning and his Yiddish kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, this is the set I have.
Oh
It's
my
really,
God.
you can't buy them anywhere. Like, whatever. I was like,
I was excited by that.
and then she had all these like projects she did in like high school, seminary. I'm like, I don't have anything like that. I'm a guy. Also, why'd you keep that stuff? It's from 10 years ago. Like,
Right.
I don't have anything like that. Like, yeah, I have like paper mache stuff I made in kindergarten. Like, maybe. Like, I don't know. I don't have any of this stuff. Whatever.
Yeah.
She had a lot better
It
stuff.
was like I don't know. People were coming out with all these like
photo
things to
albums
do.
of like fun trips. I'm like, I haven't really done.
There were all these
anything crazy.
ideas of things, activities to do
So we
during
tried
COVID.
keeping it fresh, but at a certain point, it just got to the point
There
where
was like
this
no
is,
way
like,
we could ever, when are we going to see each other in person again?
Yeah.
How can you move forward without?
So the question I have for you guys, like, was there ever a thought of just saying like, okay, we're going to take a pause here, but whenever this COVID thing is over, maybe we can resume? Was that ever a thought?
We were on a break.
We were on a break.
We were on a break.
guess.
Hashtag friends.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't think we ever left it like that.
I don't think we really thought about it because we kind of wanted to see it through. But once it got to that point where it had been so much, I don't know if we really. I don't think it crossed my mind, but I don't remember having that conversation either.
I don't think we did. It was kind of like...
Because you're putting yourself in a weird situation. Well, I'm still sort of tied down to this other person, so how do I really move on? But,
I don't date other people.
Right? Date other people, then you're like, what are the odds of you getting back together? Like, I don't know.
Okay.
So it's kind of like... It was hard. It was a very hard decision for me because I liked him a lot, and I thought there was a lot of potential.
Right.
And it's hard to see that and then give it up.
Yep.
But, not knowing how long you can continue that... how long can you sustain a relationship like that? It just didn't seem feasible to me at that point.
So Jason originally broke up with you. You were devastated. You now broke up with Jason. And Jason, were you devastated?
Devastated is a harsh word. I was upset. I was, for a guy terms, bummed out. I hear that. I wasn't happy because I wasn't happy this either. Was really good.
I didn't do it happily.
And I'm I really like her, but I also see how this is not ending anytime soon, and there was no real solution. Right. So it was just a bad situation, and it was the wrong time. Yeah. As we'll see,
it was not yet the right time.
Hashgacha Pratis, is clear that it was not meant to be happening at that point.
Yeah. It was like Hashem giving us little signs of each other, but we didn't. It's like, not here. You can see him again, but nope. Now is not.
This is God doesn't have a sense of humor, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Man playing, God laughs.
Really.
That's right.
So after that, we'll fast forward again. So in October of 2021, so right when finally things calmed down.
So it's about COVID, a year after you broke it off for the second
a year and a half.
A little, yeah.
So before October 2021, in that same time frame of COVID, I had already been planning to try to move to New York because I realized that, dating was hard as it was, and the traveling was getting excessive. Yeah. And then there was the fact that I couldn't even travel during COVID, which made it even harder. Yeah. So the real solution was move to New York. There's no other option. And a lot of my friends were doing the same thing or planning to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I was working towards getting my pharmacy license transferred to the U.S. so that I could work here as well. And in October of 2021, I had finished taking all my exams. I got the license, and I said, I'm ready to move. And COVID was already pretty much almost over at that point, at least in New York.
The craziness of it. Not the actual getting sick part.
Right. But it seemed like it was the right time, so I moved to the Heights.
The Heights, well.
Little did I know that Jason was no longer there.
He just moved away.
Jason moved to Queens in the summer of 2021.
It never works out. Just never works out.
I assumed he was still there, so I was thinking I would bump into him somewhere. I had no clue that he was not actually there.
At that point, I was kind of a friend of mine was, he was itching to get out, and I was also itching to get out, and we're like, let's get out of here, and we bounced to Queens.
Yeah. Perfect timing.
Yep.
So I moved to New York. I found a job,
nice.
Settled in, and at that point, I started going out with people in New York. And I said, you know what? I'm in a new place. Now there should be more opportunities because no one has to travel to go out with me. I don't have to travel to go out with them.
See, the crazy idea is though, you didn't think to go again for Jason to reach out or whatever.
I don't know. Somehow in my head, I was like, I don't know. I definitely was still thinking about him. He was definitely still in the back of my mind. But I also felt like there were in my head, there were so many other people that were there now that never would have even considered going out with me.
You came to the schmorg.
You're like, oh my gosh, so this is what it feels like.
Yeah. and I'm sad to say, but
you're wondering why I wasn't so so crazy about the first
You're
round.
You're right. I wouldn't go to Canada either.
Yeah, there's other, there's a lot of other people
I will
here.
say that it wasn't exactly the way I envisioned it. I did think there would be a lot more ideas coming in, and I realized that, in Toronto, I was in a smaller place, and there aren't as many girls, and the Shadchanim know you, so it's almost like, people give you ideas.
If there's any decent guy that comes along, everyone knows about it.
Right. In New York, I felt like I really had to go, get myself out there. I had to go to events. I had to really network for myself from scratch, which was not easy.
It's not easy at all.
But definitely there were suggestions, and it was, I was doing my thing, and nothing seemed to be working out, and it was almost about, a little less than a year, and I was already getting thinking really still nothing is happening. I'm in New York, this is the place where all the guys are supposed to be, and I still haven't found anybody yet.
Yeah.
And around that same time, a few different people randomly started mentioning Jason again. I guess it wasn't so random, but
every couple of weeks or months, the shadchan who was involved in round 2 would message Rivka because she thought for sure we should get married.
Yeah, she was convinced we were
She was
get married.
convinced we were meant to get, for this to happen. So she would,
She kept checking in with me.
Checking in. Are you sure you don't want to try? Are you sure? Like, not applying too much pressure, but just like, put
drip,
that thought
drip method.
into your head. And
but
slowly
besides
but surely,
for her, there were a number of other people that I know of that mentioned it. Some of them not even knowing that I had dated Jason already twice.
This is all going to Jason, though, not to you.
No, to
me.
Oh, to you also.
To Rivka.
Okay.
I
To me.
didn't really get that many at that
No,
point.
they were mostly to me. So it was almost like his name was just like in my head again.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, I was like, maybe like I should try again. Like I know this is crazy, and I know we already went out twice, but now like I'm in a different place because now I live in New York. So now there's no long distance anymore.
Yep.
I'm much closer. I had no idea if he was still single. I thought he could be married for all I know. But the fact that people were mentioning his name, I thought, okay, maybe he is still single. And so I decided to reach out to a mentor who I had in the Heights, who got to know me very well, and also I figured would know Jason because of their affiliation with YU. And I, said, like, I know this might not be so easy to approach, but maybe you can help me reach out to Jason and see if he would consider trying a third time.
Nice.
So I think it was like literally a week before Purim. I get a WhatsApp voice note from this person saying, "Hi Jason, it's so and so. Was wondering if we can chat and schmooze about something. Let me know." This was like at 10 o'clock at night, and I was in busy season again. It was like right before Purim, March. There's a big 3:15 deadline in tax accounting. So I'm like, why is this person, what's that? Like, where is this coming from? First of all, I don't really have that much to do with this person. Like, why is this person, what do they want to talk to me about? Like,
Jason, I say at the end of every episode, everything is always about shidduchim. It is. Yeah. It is. Why is someone reaching out at 10 o'clock at night? It can only be about one thing.
Like, what? I was like, I was probably so tired. I really had no idea. I saw it and I don't even know if I responded that night or I definitely responded probably the next day. And I told him the next day, like, hey, I can, talk sometime tonight. I'm just really busy at work. Let's find some time to, the next night. So the next night at, probably 10:30, we spoke, and he gets on the phone. Like, we did the whole, how's it going? The whole
pretend
fake schmooze, let's get to the point thing.
Right.
He's like, do you have any idea why I'm, calling? I'm like, well, a little bit, but I don't know. And he's like, well, there was, there's a girl who lives in the Heights now who you previously went out with. And I'm like, he's like, now you know? I said, yeah, okay.
But he didn't know I moved to New York until that point.
No, but I don't think, if he mentioned that you lived in New York, but I think he said,
that was the biggest selling point.
And he basically said, we became very close with Rivka in the last couple months, and we were wondering. He didn't say that it was coming from you per se. I think he was just saying I knew him and his wife were involved in shidduchim, so it wasn't so weird that the Heights shidduch people were calling me, having lived in the Heights for a long time. It wasn't so weird, and he's like, "Oh, would you be interested in trying again?" I said, "Huh, interesting." And I said, "Do you know the whole story here?" He said, "I know bits and pieces. Well, maybe tell me your version of the story." So I told him my version of the story. And I said, "Listen,
it's busy season.
As you know, Rivka was the one to end round 2.
Exactly right.
So, point A, point B, I'm so busy at work, I don't have time to do anything. So, if you want to talk to me after Pesach, I think Pesach was also April that year. I would be sort of, leaving Mitzrayim soon, in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
So let's talk then, because right now I literally don't have time of day to do anything. He said, okay, no problem, but would you be interested? I said, yeah, I would be potentially interested, but I think we need to answer. There are a lot of big questions need to be answered.
Big questions.
And so that was that. And then I remember speaking to them and them telling me this, and then, they said, listen, he's saying he's interested, but at the end of the day, he's busy for the next little while, so you're technically still available. If anything comes up on your end, don't feel like you're tied down, so to speak. But it was hard for me because in my head, I'm like, well, I really hope, I want to get back together with him, and I hope this works out, but how long am I gonna wait again? I waited this long, and then of course, lo and behold, a few weeks later, someone had an idea for me, which sounded interesting. So I said yes to this person, and that ended up being like a 3-month relationship.
Whoa.
And I was like very confused, and I was thinking like, what's Hashem trying to tell me? Like, Jason's like interested again, and I can't like stop thinking about him. But then this other guy comes along, and I'm like, well, I don't know anymore.
Listen, I think God was just like, I know you have to wait, but you can have fun in the meantime.
It wasn't fun.
You're in the waiting room, whatever.
But in the meantime, I think Jason also had said yes to somebody.
After like Pesach, I found out that I reached out back again saying, and they said you were busy. I'm like, huh? Really?
Did you not feel pissed off? Like
I
when
was
you heard that?
I'm like, wait, I was just waiting till like after Pesach.
But that was like 2 months. I don't know, a month.
No, you have every right to do that. 100%.
No, I mean, I'm very much, my opinion from having been in Shidduchim for a long time. You don't wait, and I've had. Very big shadchanim who I was very close with say you don't wait. You don't wait for people. Like it's just like if it's meant to be, it'll happen. But like, don't put yourself on hold, and then they put you on hold for months and months. Like, like I'm not ready yet. Like like that classic, like whatever. Yeah. Then they're never ready. So
whatever. So then I was busy, and then next thing Jason was busy, and then he wasn't busy, but then I was still busy.
And then it was June.
And then it was June. and I finally had clarity because the guy I was going with broke up with me.
Whoa.
So that was my clarity. And I said, okay, now I have my answer. Now I know that Jason is hopefully the one.
So then I was, of course, living in Queens. Rivka was living in Washington Heights. I remember this very clearly. I went to work that day, which was like an oddity at that time, actually going into your office.
Oh, yeah?
So I went to work, took the train. We met in the Upper West Side and got dinner. And I had a very lengthy discussion.
Yeah.
Would love to hear those big questions that you had.
No, it was just like...
He wanted some sort of explanation.
Some explanations of like what
happened.
Yeah.
What happened. And
there were things we had to, go through and things that... There were some misunderstandings that had to be clarified about certain things that I guess needed answers. And I think we pretty much sorted everything out pretty quickly.
Yeah, we were sitting next to a lot of really loud girls. Which we still
talk
about.
They were having a birthday party.
We're sitting in this like
corner,
literally the corner of the restaurant in the back.
Yep.
And
next to a loud table,
a small 2-person table, and next to a whole slew. Imagine going to like a restaurant and then you're sitting next to like a million seminary girls who are super loud.
Just
this is exactly what it was.
And this was like a very important date because we had a lot to catch up on.
Like, we're trying to have a very real conversation, and it was like crazy loud, so we're like screaming. Yeah.
But anyways, it was good. It was.
Can I get one tidbit on one thing you spoke about that you needed to kind of hash out? Get a small tidbit for the listeners. It's good for Shidduchim.
It's good for Shidduchim. I don't even remember. What I do remember is that, again, Jason was very much like, he remembered everything about everything. Like, he remembered details about, like, inside jokes that we had from, like, the first round.
Wow.
Like, this was already almost 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's, like, pulling out, like, stories and things and, like, as far
I'm just kidding.
So I do remember. But the intricacies of what we actually, like...
It probably wasn't that important if we can't remember.
I really don't remember.
Probably not, because the fact that it was like, super crazy loud, I don't really remember half the conversation.
I just remember being like an intense conversation.
I remember being very intense.
I try not to remember
what I ordered, and I remember what you ordered.
I remember what you ordered too. You had the pizza.
No, you got pizza. Oh. You thought you were going to share it with me. I'm like, I got a full-blown meal. Like,
no, I barely ate them. It was a lot of talking. We didn't really eat much.
It was a lot of talking. You had lunch for the next day.
But anyways, So
after that, then we started going out there like, okay, we're like good. Okay, we're gonna like start basically fresh, even though we already know each other.
For the third time.
And from then on, we dated a lot. But another point of Rivka at this point was about to start a residency program. A pharmacy residency program in a hospital in Nyack, New York.
Which is very close to Muncie.
Where I am from. So,
even better.
Although I moved to Queens, I basically lived in Muncie for the next 4 months. Well, it was the summer, and my roommate does go up to camp for the summer. So I would have been living in Queens by myself with no central air conditioning, and it was rather hot. Yeah. So, given that I didn't have any real reason to be there during the summer and no one to really hang out with, it was obvious that I should just like stay at home
And we basically dated close to Muncie. Like, I would meet him after work. Locally, it was like really...
It was much more convenient.
For Jason.
For me.
I did all the driving.
So he never had to go to Canada like one time?
Not yet.
Maybe to meet your parents,
No, they came to meet him here.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah.
The first time he came to Canada was when we got engaged.
I threw them a big bone later, so you'll see.
Wow.
But
nice.
But we basically, I did a lot of driving. I would go out with him, I would meet him, and then I would drive home pretty much after a whole day of work and a date. I would drive back to the city late at night, get ready for bed, and start all over again the next day.
Legit.
But it was good. I think it was much better. There's something to be said for dating in person.
Right.
Even though I know a lot of people, not a lot, I know a few people who actually dated and got married through mostly Zoom and meeting a few times. But for the most part, I totally understand why people say like in person really, really makes a difference.
Sure.
I knew Jason. I definitely knew a lot about him. I knew I could talk to him for long periods of time and not get bored. But there's a lot you learn about a person when you're with them in person, things that you wouldn't see. There's, we have time for another podcast, but I have a lot of stories of things that Jason did while we were dating to rescue me, quote unquote, and he really showed me a side of him that I never would have seen over Zoom.
Oh, what? Do you have a quick story that
I'll give a
share?
quick story, but it was a lot of people.
One of the many similarly related stories.
Basically, I had a car with me from Canada that I drove to New York when I moved, and I drove from the city every day to my residency in the hospital. Sure. And it's a very old. It's like I don't know. It was a 12-year-old car. It was pretty old, but it made a lot of trips, and it was a good car. And let's just say I had maybe, was it 2 or 3?
2 or 3 different
instances where my car basically broke down on the side of the highway on the way to work.
Wow.
And I'm in this country by myself with no family here.
Yeah.
The only person I really am close to right now is Jason. I am dating him, and he basically rescued me multiple times. Had my car towed to his family's mechanic, fixed, found me, his grandmother's apartment to stay in, got me food, put me up for a few nights, like until my car was fixed. And this happened twice at least.
Wow. I also lent you my car.
He lent me his car. His dad lent me his car. His family really came to my rescue multiple times, and I was just like, wow, if they're going above and beyond to help me, and I'm just dating him, I'm not even engaged, I'm not married. I'm like, wow.
But they knew the story. It wasn't like...
I could tell...
I didn't leave my parents completely out of the loop in this whole situation.
I could tell that he was a good guy.
This girl that you dated a bunch of times. They knew the whole seriousness of the whole thing. So it wasn't like they knew probably...
He's downplaying the goodness.
This girl will be her.
It really meant a lot. It meant a lot to me and my family,
so,
knowing that I was, taken care of in the time when, I would reach out to my own parents for this kind of thing, and my own family, and I had nobody to really turn to.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that you hope it doesn't happen to you, but it almost showed me, a side of Jason that I never would have seen before that. So,
Wow.
Anyways.
So that was the summer, and then I was back into busy season in September, October time, and we had basically planned to go to Toronto
for Sukkot, for the first days of Sukkot, because I wanted Jason to meet my siblings. My parents had come in to meet him, but he met my siblings on Zoom, but he never met them in person.
Right.
And I want him to meet my family.
Definitely.
It was
he still hasn't gone there once.
Correct.
So
he should be giving TED Talks on how to do that. Not
how to get away with not traveling.
Literally.
I'm making up for it now.
Phenomenal.
Trust me.
Excuse me.
We were just in Toronto for a week for Pesach, and I drove both ways.
I hear that.
So it's, I'm getting it paid dividends for the future. So whatever.
I hear.
But the plan was we were going to get engaged a few weeks after Sukkot in New York, as far as I was aware.
I was planning everything basically with Rivka's sister, helping me tremendously. So thank you, #Adina.
I really wanted to get engaged in Toronto, but Jason kept saying it wouldn't be possible. He was too busy with work.
I wanted to do all the, classic engagement stuff, and I'm like, I don't know any random gamachs to get stuff in Canada.
My sister would have helped you.
Yeah, but then I wouldn't have been something that I would be just showing up and hoping that it looked the way I wanted it to, and then I had no say in it. Someone else would be doing all the work, and I'm like,
you want to play at home. You want to play at home.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just more comfortable.
Exactly.
I hear that.
You want to play in your home court. So I was really planning for the home court. There's a nice park literally down the 2 blocks from my house, which even Rivka's parents thought it was a really nice park when they came to visit. They drove by it's a nice park. I'm like, oh yeah, Willow Tree Park. So there's a gazebo there, and I was gonna there's a whole path. I was gonna do a whole thing, and it just got me really, really stressed out.
It was also busy season
planning,
for you.
I was so busy at work, and
it's always a common theme.
Going back and forth with Rivka's sister about what to buy. oh, should I buy the stuff on Amazon? Should I get it from Gamach and Muncie? Oh, there's a place in the 5 towns that has all this stuff. I'm like, it drove me crazy, and I'm like, I have no time or patience.
What is there to get, really? What do you need to get?
Fake flower petals, like the walkway white floor stuff. I don't know, like the marry me letter things.
Yeah, the whole.
And like, I don't know, like maybe because your sister put some weird ideas in my head of what this should be, and it made it more complicated. And I was just super stressed out about it. And I was talking to the shotgun about it, and she's like, "Why are you doing this all this craziness? Just get engaged in Toronto."
Bless the shot.
Like,
I didn't tell her any of this.
I'm like, I thought about it, but I'm like, it's just like, I'm not interested. Like, what do you mean? You're going for Sukkot, get engaged in Niagara Falls. I'm like, huh.
And mind you, I have always dreamed of getting engaged in Niagara Falls.
Really?
And did I ever tell you? I don't know if I ever told him that.
At the time, I'm pretty sure I did not know.
I think I told him in passing, but I don't think he remembered. But I actually secretly told a lot of people I knew that I would love to get engaged in Niagara Falls. I think it's just beautiful there.
Wow.
So, Yom Kippur was a Wednesday.
You got engaged on Yom Kippur?
No, 2 days after Yom Kippur.
I'm just kidding.
And on Thursday
night we drove.
To Rochester. That's a 5-hour drive from Muncie. I stayed at my friend who stays there. I stayed at a neighbor. And the next morning we completed the drive. We crossed the border into Canada.
On Friday.
In Niagara Falls, the Rainbow Bridge.
We got out to take a nice picture, which ended up being a proposal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I had the ring
shocked.
in a box in my pocket.
I was shocked.
Just don't drop it.
No, but I'm saying, like,
he was driving
for 8 hours of driving, I had it literally sitting right next to her, and it's a miracle she didn't see it.
Oh, you just had it out?
No, I had it in my pocket, but like I'm sitting there driving.
Why don't you just put it in your bag or something?
That would have been smart.
I put it in my bag. I wanted it to be on me. Like I couldn't I don't know. Like,
what, you can't put it in your bag?
Things happen.
I don't know, Rochester. I've never been there. I don't trust people with that.
Right. He cared.
But it was just crazy because I was totally shocked. I was not expecting it at all.
It's a dream.
It was my dream. I had some small suspicions, but nothing that I thought would actually happen.
Yeah, we qualmed those suspicions very quickly.
And that was basically it. We got engaged, and then we got married.
We drove.
A few months later.
I gave her parents about a week notice. That was Friday. I told them on Sunday, hey, change the game plan. We're getting engaged on Friday. And
so they put together.
Oh my gosh, amazing! They went crazy. They went ballistic. Like, we're gonna have a fort here on Motzei Shabbos. It'll be great.
Because
Yom Tov was
Sunday.
A week. So I'm like, okay, fine. So a day later, her father tells me everything's booked. It's great. If your parents want to come, they can come. I'm like, they're not coming. It's Erev Yom Tov. Sunday night was Yom Tov. Like, that was part of why I didn't want to get engaged in Canada, because my parents wouldn't be there.
All right.
And I wanted them to be there. So that was okay.
It's okay.
Whatever.
We had 2 parties, so it was good.
Yeah, so we had a party in New York afterwards. Either way, but so we got engaged in Niagara Falls. We go to her house. Everyone's all excited, happy. Like, I was a little afraid of coming as, like, you know, the chassan when no one ever met me.
So you have
I
plenty to talk about.
never been there before. I'm like, oh, hey, I'm the son-in-law, not the boyfriend, like the son-in-law, almost son-in-law. Like,
but it was good.
But quickly, it didn't really.
It's like a dream ending for the story. It's a fairy tale ending.
It was really, for.
And then we drove back, after Yom Tov, 8 hours from Toronto.
That was the first of many trips.
The first of several trips since then. And it's been great ever since.
You're happily ever after.
Here we are married.
Freaking believable. It's absolutely unbelievable.
It is crazy.
The story. If there's one takeaway to give to, because a lot of people struggle in dating, whatever, been there. What would you tell them?
I definitely have. I think, was it 2? I'll say one. Jason can say the other one. My key takeaway, I guess, is really, I think this is a very clear demonstration of how it has to be the right person at the right time. I know people say that and it sounds cliche, but I believe it 100% after what I went through. And really, like, timing, as you can see from the story, is so important. If it would have worked out the first time around, I would have been in a very different place. Jason would have been in a very different place. I wouldn't be the person I am today. I think I definitely grew a lot and changed a lot and matured a lot. And I think Jason did too over those 4 years. And also the fact that, our lives would have looked very different. I would have been in a different country. Jason would have probably had to move to Canada.
And that would have been a terrible thing anyway.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't have been so bad.
There was no working remotes. I'd have to work for a Canadian company, and I'd be the only American there, so it wouldn't be so much fun.
Right.
But, it was clear. It was very, very clear. Obviously, in hindsight, going through it was not easy. It was challenging. It was, an ordeal. It was a test, and but in hindsight, I can say, most people aren't necessarily able to say that they can look back and see the whole picture. But in this case, I was very blessed to be able to do that, And I can really say that it was not the right time until then. So I just want to give chizuk to people out there, who are still looking for the right person, that first of all, if there is someone in your past that you have dated, I'm a very, very strong believer that you could try again, and sometimes, may not be appropriate to, but sometimes it may be. And I'm a strong believer also of just believing that it may not be the right time right now for whatever reason, for either the person that, you're for who you are right now, or for even the person that you're eventually going to marry. Maybe they're not in the right place or the right headspace or whatever it is. Even Jason, he was in a different job before. He changed to a new job. I was living there. Now I'm living here. So many things had to fall into place that we couldn't understand. And I just want to give, chizuk to people that it will happen at the right time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Jason?
Just one, I guess, just adding on to what Rivka said. It's tremendous hashkacha in shidduchim. It's mamish nisim. It's not just like, two people come together. Like, you're taking two people from two different worlds, literally, in our situation, and bringing them together, cross-border, cross everything, over years. You see the Yad Hashem. And I want, obviously people know that nothing is stam, especially in dating. It's although it's extremely hard. I dated for, 6 years. I know what it means to, get rejected and to go on bad dates. And it's, for me, I know personally, being mechazik in davening. Davening was a tremendous chizuk for me. I mean, obviously some people, that's not your thing. I get it. But, find something to, if you're going through, difficult, obviously not necessarily from my story, but just from, in general, for help in shidduchim, like, find something that makes you happy and do it. Don't live in your singlehood and sit all depressed and sad and just don't, and not do anything. Live it up in your singlehood. I'm not saying spend all your money and if you have a job, don't not save money. But do fun things. Go out. Do things. Don't just sit around and just mope that you're single. It's a bracha. Right now, Hashem wants you to be single. So there's a reason for it. I know it's harder. It's obviously hard. But to some degree, enjoy the ability to go do whatever you want, whenever you want. I mean, it's there's places that I would like to have gone that I didn't. And
we'll go one day.
Do things or that. I mean, I'm sure everyone has those types of things. And I would say just don't squander almost an opportunity. It's not a curse. It's in many ways it is a bracha, and it will come. It will come, and I'm a firm believer that when, like Rivka said, when the right time, when the right person, Hashem will make it happen. Doesn't matter where you are.
He will bring you together from the other side of the world,
even if it's from Canada.
You won't even believe that it's happening until it's done, and then you really won't believe. I think I remember during Shavuot brachas, we were talking. I don't know. We were in the car. I don't know where we were. We're like, is this real? Did this happen?
Did we actually get through this?
Are we actually married? Did this actually happen? And after the whole saga, you're like, and then it's just over. It's done. So I mean, it could be a long chapter in people's lives, but it doesn't have to necessarily be a horrible, awful, experience in tufa in your life. It's obviously difficult, but I think with the right mindset and trying to stay positive and doing things that you enjoy and do things that you have fun. Obviously, having a chevra is extremely helpful. I mean, I don't wish that a lot of people should be not married, but chas v'shalom. But I think everyone should find the right person soon. But to enjoy life. Don't just let it
pass by
right.
And just then you'll be sorry later.
Right. Well, you heard it here, folks. Jason and Rivka, guys, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having
us again.
Absolutely.
It was a great time.
Absolutely. Anytime. And remember, guys, to like and subscribe to the podcast. We bring all these types of great stories on. And Sarah's not here, and we were able to still get through a podcast pretty well. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time. And remember, everything will always be about shidduchim. Catch you in the next episode.